This is very weird. Hello. Very weird cold open to this video, but just as I started to edit it, the news broke that Stephen Moffat has left his role as executive producer of Doctor Who to be replaced by Chris Chibnall, and we're not going to have a full series of Doctor Who in 2016, just a Christmas special, apparently. So I am recording this as a precursor to any comments we make later on in the video that may or may not be relevant to the current situation. At the time, obviously we had no idea this was happening, but it'll be interesting to see what exactly we say. I was literally just opened this project file to start work on this episode when the news broke. So, weird. But as you can see from the title above, it's called How to Fix Doctor Who. My phone is buzzing. Everyone is chatting about it right now. It's the big thing. Enjoy the rest of the video. Oh God, shut up, phone.
Okay, hello everybody, we're back, we're doing another video. It's going to be a bit different. It has stemmed from something else. We were going to talk about, like what would we do with Doctor Who, but instead we're going to turn that on its head and talk about how we would use that to fix Doctor Who as it is today. Remember, this is all just for fun. No one take this away and be like, oh well, these assholes think that they know exactly how to run the program.
And this show is entirely subjective.
Yeah,
so your views are going to be completely different to ours, and they probably will be, and that's the best part of this program, is that we can all go, no, I think something different, and then,
Just take it as a light-hearted fans just having a chat about what, we've said, like, what we like about episodes lately, and things that we've just been like, why would you do that? Stop doing stuff like that. So we're going to try and sort of use that as our springboard into how we would do things.
And actually provide some solutions as opposed to just moaning about it like a couple of old biddies.
Yeah. Well, that's always good fun.
Yeah, that's the best bit. That's our bread and butter, that is.
Well, I guess number one, less over-the-top, obvious comedy. Because, Jesus Christ, it is just... You can watch that programme sometimes and it's just like, who are you even making this for? Now, I know that it's a children's programme, and it's always going to be a children's programme, to some extent, but I don't think we should necessarily be talking down to children with this programme. I think television generally across the board, especially for children, has just gone.
Do you think?
I think it talks down to kids terribly. I think it is really bad.
Do you not think some kid shows like Gravity Falls or like, Adventure Time, some kid shows...
Some kids... I mean like... I hate to say it, but like sort of CBBC, real sort of like that sort of science.
I haven't watched anything on CBBC.
Probably
since Series 3 of the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Even if you watch stuff like... like for younger kids, stuff like whatever they get these days, like... Do they still have the tweenies?
I don't think they
do. Anymore. Why are you making a programme with these creatures that are talking in gibberish?
Oh, well, I suppose it is for toddlers, and I suppose that... their eyes are attracted by bright colours, and it's just to get them to shut up for 5 minutes.
Yeah, but I was watching Doctor Who when I...
Yeah. Well, that's different.
Actually, this is probably like a public service announcement. Like, don't show your children Doctor Who at a young age, otherwise you'll end up like me.
No, or otherwise they'll end up like Emilio.
Or they'll end up like my nephew.
Pushing children in playgrounds.
Yeah, and calling them Cybermen.
And offending a baby by calling it an Auton because it was bold. Man, he's going to be a tyrant, that child, when he grows up. That's going to be amazing.
That's not me saying don't treat children like adults, but I think, and Christopher Eccleston said this when he was cast, he was like, kids... they're not just like, stupid kids, they'll watch anything. Yeah. They do have opinions on stuff. And I think we shouldn't dumb it down.
Okay.
Look at stuff like Doctor Who in the 70s. Children were still in mind, but it was broad enough to, adults would watch it. But I think if you watch old Doctor Who now, like kids today just be like, this isn't for me. This isn't for children.
Well, I think maybe that's why they're trying to introduce class to the
mix,
because even though it's supposed to be a young adults thing, if Doctor Who is a family show that's for like adults and kids, and it talks down to kids to that degree, then if they're looking for the mid-range, class might sort of provide that. But then again, the show should be doing that anyway.
Yeah.
They shouldn't leave it up to another programme to fill in that middle bit. I think generally Doctor Who has sort of been whittled down into a distillation of what it is.
Yeah.
And with that, you lose the wit, and you lose quite a bit of what. I mean, it's subjective for us because we our type of comedy and the things that we find funny is different, and even the things that you find funny, I'm like Friends and Big Bang Theory, I might not necessarily find particularly funny.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be different for people, but then that doesn't mean you have to then make it so base and broad and just really
And it has become broad in like it's literally you can watch extras and you think about how Andy talks about like fucking stupid catchphrases, stupid comedy glasses and comedy hair, and you can then turn to Doctor Who. Matt Smith, comedy hair. Matt Smith, comedy catchphrase. David Tennant, comedy catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's just all these things, and it's just like that's not what this should be about. And I have a real great deal of respect for Peter Capaldi, who's like, I don't want a sonic screwdriver because it shouldn't be about the merchandise, even though that actually does pay for the programme to be made. So it's shooting yourself in the foot, really. But, I can understand where he's coming from, and I respect that. It's like, no, it should be more about the programme itself than, we can sell, so many thousand sonic screwdrivers, or so many T-shirts with Geronimo written on it, and, I like fezzes.
Television is a culture of buzzwords, because if you don't attract somebody's attention to your television show in the first 30 seconds, sort of spells death for the rest of the episode or the rest of the run. And where Doctor Who is concerned, it needs a strong viewer base, considering that lots of people are growing up and flocking to other shows like Game of Thrones and and like all sorts. I know a lot of people who grew up loving Doctor Who, and not even for running away to different television shows. They just sort of, most people are when David Tennant left, and it's like, man, like it's so much better than you think it is. But you just can't convince or attract those people to the show anymore. No.
I think that's the thing. I think in order to keep the older audience watching, it needs to appeal to them in a way that, I don't want to say like Game of Thrones, because obviously Game of Thrones is, from what I gather, I've not watched it, it's just like dragons, swords, incest, boobs, and...
Pretty much.
And just that.
I think that's what it says on the back of the DVD.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, it just needs... I don't know if I want to say it needs to be cleverer. I mean, it feels these days...
Should we say less broad?
Less broad.
Less broad.
It feels...
In all departments.
Yeah, it just sort of feels sometimes you watch it and it's just like... Does it really feel like a sci-fi show anymore?
No.
Does it really feel like Doctor Who anymore?
We've spoken about this at length, and ever since we made that Rose review, my subconscious sort of said, "Oh, remember that night of discovery where you were like, this is not Doctor Who anymore." Yeah. Ever since then, I've had those pangs of feeling like that. But then, then you get an episode like Under the Water, and it's like, oh shit, like, this is Doctor Who.
Yeah, that is unequivocally, that is the quintessential Doctor Who right there. If anyone was to turn around to me and say, right, show me a Doctor Who story, I could just say, right, put that on. Yeah. That is everything Doctor Who is. It's an adventure. There's monsters. There is
threat.
There's a genuine threat. You have a mystery to it. What's happening with these people with the eyes? What are they saying? How is this all come together? And it is a race against time to try and work out what's going on, save the day, all this kind of stuff. People are dying. That's what Doctor Who. That's Doctor Who for me.
Number 2.
I'd say actually frighten some kids.
Mm-hmm.
Be frightening.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
I'm gonna make sure that number 3 is gonna be take risks.
Yeah.
So number 2.
Be more frightening.
Is be more frightening.
Yeah, and something.
Because I don't think they're the same thing.
No, something came up the other day at work where we were talking about something to do with Doctor Who, and I mean, I watch Doctor Who at work at lunchtimes. You know, some of them play games and stuff, not just if I'm doing my marathon, whack Doctor Who on.
Yeah.
And you know,
say they whack the games on. I'm just going to go wank.
No, not that. And you know, they'll look over my shoulder, and they'll laugh. And they'll be like, and I'll be like, oh, yeah, okay. You know, they look at the crayons and they're like, oh, they've got carry bags on their heads. It's like, not actually carry bags. It's actually plastic, and you know that might be carry bags, like the beardy bits. But yeah, and they were talking about it, and they're like about you know, one of the guys said, my son really likes horror films and stuff, and he loves it, but he won't watch Doctor Who. I was like, why is that? He said because it freaks him out. And I was like, why? Right. Doctor Who isn't scary.
Yeah.
And he's like, he saw the one, he said, with the gas mask monsters.
Yeah.
And I think he said he saw the one with the angels as well. He said it just freaked him out. He said stuff like that, he said because it wasn't like on the nose scary, like this is a monster.
Yeah.
Rah! Yeah. You know, it was more psychological than that. And and he said stuff like that really freaks him out. I was like, that there is what Doctor Who should be like. It should be, you know, you've got adults here talking about, that was scary.
Yeah.
You know, when you get adults saying that was scary, you know, it's a water cooler sort of chat, like, did you watch Doctor Who? Oh, that was freaky, wasn't it? With the gas mask zombies. Oh, the weeping angels, they're frightening.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get that anymore. You don't turn around and be like, did you see the Zygon invasion? Yeah, the Zygons.
The blobby monsters.
The blobby monsters.
How are your audience supposed to take the threat seriously when you
call them blobby monsters? Yeah, it's stuff like that. And there's a interview from 1983 with Patrick Troughton, I think John Pertwee's in it, and Peter Davison, for the Five Doctors. And, you know, they're talking about Doctor Who, these news people, and they're like, you know, of course, you must want to send it up because, you know, it's monsters and running around is all stupid. And Pat Troughton says, no, he says, you never send it up. He said that is the worst thing you can do, because as soon as you do that, then it all falls apart. And I think that is the problem with Doctor Who now, is that it's not like, the actors are sending it up and playing it like a pantomime. The writers themselves are like, be obvious. So the audience are obviously aware that this is a monster, the man in the suit. So we'll make sort of like a little wink nudge claim to that. And it's like, no, don't do that, because as soon as you do that, that is in effect killing itself, because you're then reminding the audience, who might be getting sucked into the story, blobby monster. It's just a man in a rubber suit. Yeah. I mean, regardless of the fact that the Zygons were written shite anyway in that story, you know, they could have been so much better. But it's stuff like that. And it's just like, no, you're it's like you're nailing the hammers into your own coffin.
Yeah. Because that's that, again, we'll keep bringing this up, that the bread and butter of Doctor Who is, you know, to be scary.
Yeah.
To have the elements of science, to have, you know, to be clever. But when you're being, you know, so unintelligent that the audience are going, come on, timey-wimey, or they're going, you know, hey, blobby or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, it is a blobby monster, then you are literally just looking at the elements that made your show so popular, and you're going, no one really takes those seriously, because we clearly don't take it that seriously when we're writing it, when we're coming up with, you know, these concepts, and then you are nailing the hammer in, nailing the hammer. You're hammering the nail into the coffin of the show. You're shitting on your own doorstep, basically, if you start doing that.
Yeah.
Number three. It is number 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Take more risks, because the show was built on the foundation of, you know, will this or won't this work? And when you stop taking risks, it becomes incredibly stale. And I think that's the point that Doctor Who's at now, that they're taking risks, but they're not going far enough with it. So the whole thing about, you know, the Doctor's going to kill a child, it's like, that's quite inflammatory. I mean, I know a lot of people from the Daily Mail probably went, what? You know, and absolutely, you know, bust their braces at the concept of, you know, of that being a possibility. But they never go far enough with their ideas.
No.
And, you know, I've mentioned it on the live stream, and I mentioned it to you earlier today, that when I spoke to one of the Doctor Who producers, Derek Ritchie, and I said, why didn't you include the widescreen bars from the trailers from the Series 8? The TV trailers, they were on television. So why didn't you include the widescreen bars from the TV trailers of the Series 9 episodes in the actual show? Why weren't they like that when it was broadcast? And he said, we just thought that the audience would find it a bit weird. Did you watch Dr. Foster on BBC One?
No.
It was really good. It was a drama, and it had, widescreen, anamorphic widescreen bars on it.
Right.
And nobody who watched that complained and went, "Oh, this is like a movie."
Yeah.
Because that's what Derek Ritchie said. He said, and here's his reasoning behind it, and that's okay. But he said, it was something like, if people tuned in watching to watch Doctor Who, and they thought it was Doctor Who the movie, or they thought they were watching a movie, they'd be a little bit, confused by it. And it's like, well,
not really.
No, I don't think they would, because,
I think, to be honest, Joe Public probably wouldn't even notice.
No, they wouldn't.
No.
If you reverted back to 4x3,
they'd
probably
be like, well, what the hell?
What the hell's that about? But it made the show look so classy. It made the show look like it deserved to be at Comic-Con. Because quite frankly, when I'm pretty sure when the Game of Thrones people, walk into Hall H or whatever it is, and the Doctor Who people vacate the stage, they probably go,
oh yeah,
come
obviously.
on, look at our show,
yeah.
And they're up on here, I know that's probably not the case, but if I was if I was in that position, I'd go, the show that looks like, they're still shooting it in the same format,
yeah.
And it's and I know we're in the HD era now, but a lot of people can't tell because they haven't got HD televisions. I think there's still a ridiculous. There's over 100,000 televisions in this country that still are black and white cathode ray tubes, which is just scary to think. But that is just to take a risk with the show isn't to make a white male regenerate into a black female as we saw in the season finale. That's not a risk. That's just like. So what impact does that have on anything?
Yeah.
Take a risk that will shake up the show completely, and that doesn't necessarily mean cast a woman, because that's not, that is risky because an audience will react differently to it. But
I think now that has become almost so expected that if it happened, people would just be like,
oh, all right, okay, it happened, all right,
yeah, that'd be it.
Yeah.
And I just don't think it would really have that much of an effect.
Not at all.
I mean, when the finale aired, and you had that classic TARDIS and stuff, and you have the silver TARDIS, I thought, if you want to do something risky, do what I said.
Yeah.
Go back, shit, someone's stolen the TARDIS.
Yeah. And it's not a blue police box. But then again, that wouldn't sell merchandise, would it?
Well, no, of course, that's the thing. It wouldn't sell the merchandise.
Yeah. You wouldn't be able to shift TARDIS off the shelf because it'd be like, well, it's not in the show, so
silver tube.
Yeah. So that's you could do a Blue Peter build. It's like get a toilet roll and spray it silver. So that's probably my biggest one, I'd say personally. Take more risks. Yeah. Because I like when I make stuff, I like to do weird things with it and just make it different. But there's nothing sets Doctor Who apart from any other show anymore.
No.
It was a show that could do anything. Now it's a show that just does the norm.
Yeah,
because
it's mad. You look back at 2005 and 2006, where it was being universally praised by the press. Like, look at this is Doctor Who for the 21st century. Yeah. Look at what they're doing. You've got the Doctor isn't this eccentric anymore. He's he's like a run-of-the-mill man. The companion's not a screaming, fawning girl. She's able and whatever. And they're dealing with emotional events like in Father's Day and stuff. And now it's just like, Doctor Who was on Saturday. Yeah,
it doesn't even get as much Radio Times, advertising as it used to. I know the BBC don't own the Radio Times anymore, but it's like, geez, if the Radio Times isn't commenting on your show, as much, that's quite scary.
It's just like stupid, like blogs on their website. Like.
And I don't know if the show becoming more mainstream, coming off the back of it being cancelled, and having this explosion of creativity through the audios and through the books is obviously a good thing.
Yeah.
Going back to the mainstream, obviously, is where the show belongs. It's a mainstream populist drama at the end of the day. As much as we like to think that it's our little niche thing, it's not. It's everywhere, you know. And that's what the show should be. That's where it belongs. But when you openly acknowledge that it is just a mass populist drama, and you start treating your audience like they are just a mass popular instead of an intelligent audience that actually want. It's almost like that Lord Reith thing that the first Director General of the BBC said. People don't know what they want. We tell them what they want. It's almost the same. Yeah. The same feeling coming out the show. It's like you know, we're not going to bow down to the pressure of what the fans want, because it's just what the fans want. It's got nothing to do with us being more creative or making the show any better. It's just about, you know, Stephen leaving his office behind, and it's like, it's not about that. Stephen Moffat could take the show in a completely new direction next season, and we all go, this is great, but he's not. You know, that's the only thing. He could have an incredible idea in his head that just hasn't come to fruition. And, you know, we'd all turn around and go, fair enough, mate. We didn't expect that. You blew us out the water with that idea. But I don't think they will.
No. And I think it's difficult to say what the BBC themselves, like, looming over, like,
are saying,
don't do that, you know, that's too much of a risk because, you know, you don't want to turn people off. Like I said, like, imagine if you did that with the TARDIS. They'd be like, well, we can't sell TARDIS merchandise anymore.
At the beginning of every season, Stephen Moffat goes to the people at the BBC and says, this is my vision for the future. And I think the last couple of years, he's walked in and gone, more of the same? And they've gone, yes, please.
Yeah, probably.
And that's why we've been having the show we've been having for the past, 5-6 years.
Yeah. I would like, for number 4, I would like Doctor Who, and again, this is going back to Series 1. And it's quite interesting for me, looking back at this sort of retrospectively, how much my idea for Doctor Who harks back to stuff that they did in Series 1. And that would be, let the drama be like real drama. So in as much as stuff like Rose and her dad, you give it a little sci-fi twist, sure, but at the heart of that, it's a story of loss. It's a story about this little girl who never knew her dad, and she's got the chance to do that. Superb story, brilliant story. Even little things like, it's not been a day, it's been 12 months, you've been gone a year, and the fallout from that.
That's very real, isn't it?
And it's the realism, and I think that is what Doctor Who now is missing. I like the fact that Doctor Who had one foot in reality and one foot in sci-fi. And I think that's why it works in like the John Pertwee era, because obviously they were all earthbound stories for the majority, and that's why those stories have been so successful in themselves. Like because just even the monsters and stuff, it's like shop window dummies. Everyone can attribute some fear to that, and it's walking down the street and you can be like, God, yeah, imagine that. Imagine if this stuff happened. And that's not me saying that I don't want Doctor Who to visit spaceships and go back in time and all the rest of it. But I think if you're going to do drama with the characters, make the drama real. Do not make the drama, Clara exists in multiple timelines and actually now she can't ever die or whatever because she's on her last heartbeat or whatever. And then just to make it all a bit more daft, we'll give her own TARDIS and she can fly around like she's Doctor fucking Who.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because like no, I mean, who can relate to that, guys? Hey,
yeah, well, precisely.
Even if her, I like what I really liked about the Clara character was in the early days in Series 7B when she had to go back and she had to keep doing her childminding job.
Yeah.
Like if she had to maintain that because she actually had to look after the kids for some reason.
Yeah. But
she also wanted to go off into space and have these amazing adventures. That's a drama. That's a dilemma for her character. But instead, it was everybody's got to be interesting for a reason other than Earth, earthly based dramas and earthly based tragedies and all that sort of stuff. Like Rose is a perfect example because you actually felt like, even though not massive fans of her character, you actually felt like she was a real person.
Yeah.
And you had layers to her character, and she felt real, regardless of maybe how she was written or how she came across now and again across episodes. She did feel like a very real person. She felt very normal, and that's what we want in a companion. We don't want to make we don't want to feel like we aspire to be them.
No.
We just want to feel like them.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing recently is that it's all been about companions who, you wish you were them, or you ship them and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, well, can't we just have somebody who's just so down to earth that everybody instantly. I don't like Star Wars, but I like Finn and Rey.
Yeah.
Because they're down to earth and they've got their own little dilemmas.
Yeah.
And the drama in the new Star Wars movie for like Finn stems from the fact that he's lying to people.
Yeah.
Not because he is the firstborn of the Jedi race and all that sort of stuff. It's like, because who can relate to that?
No, exactly.
Nobody.
Yeah.
And Doctor Who is about being relatable, but twisting it a bit. Number 5, less fan baiting. We made a whole, we had a whole question about Doctor Who being too self-referential or too, up itself, really, fundamentally, to up itself. When it comes down to, even though having now had more information, Stephen Moffat creating the Sonic sunglasses just to do it for a laugh to bait fans. Yeah. If that may not be true, given what what may or may not be true.
Yeah.
That is still like, mate, this is your show. Like, you don't treat your audience like this. I think it was a very poor
choice.
Poor judgment on what you think we will stand for.
Yeah.
Because we won't be happy with that if you genuinely treat your audience like, let's do something to wind them up, and not in a sort of, but still pay off in the end sort of a way, in a, I guess, like, sort of twisting the knife a bit. It's like, again, respect for your audience. There's very little when you do stuff like that, and consequently, don't be angry when we don't respect you back and tell you that your episodes are subpar.
Yeah.
For the standards that Doctor Who fans set up for themselves.
I mean, there's like a real thing. I don't think I've ever seen it with any other program where like critique about it gets you so much stick. I don't think I've ever seen that.
The Silent Hill community are nuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
They're pretty mental.
Wow, okay. I'll have to...
They're very much like, these are the first 3 games are the only ones that exist. Everything from The Room onwards is... really don't like it, yeah.
Wow, okay. Interesting, okay. Yeah, but I do think that. It's like, I don't think I've ever heard of any show since or beforehand, and even like films, franchise films, you never hear someone say, nah, Spectre was alright, but it wasn't that good. Never hear anyone say, what the hell do you think you're saying? You're gonna die!
Maybe people who like say, Jar Jar isn't that annoying. Like,
well, they'll get lambasted.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's but this is like week on week.
I think that's why it's interesting that we say this now, because obviously, we produce videos to critique things, and people, it's almost in the same way that the same reason that I watch Mark Commode's videos is because I'm waiting for the rant. I'm waiting for the Entourage rant, and I'm waiting for the one that's like, that is, he's just going to go off on one. It's going to be brilliant. Our videos are, I think, in a cathartic sense, are quite similar.
Yeah.
Because people want us to just go, it's rubbish, and so they can agree with us.
Yeah.
But you're not necessarily supposed to agree with us. That's the point. That's the reason we make videos, is that, we like to hear your opinion. And, there are plenty of channels out there on YouTube, of varying sizes, from very, very small to very, very big, YouTube channels that have, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of subscribers, who, they're not, I feel like they're not critical enough, or,
Yeah.
And I'm talking about the Doctor Who community. I feel like, like where they're not as, it's not that they don't, no, it's not that they don't care for the show enough, that's not right. It's that, I mean, we love the show to such a degree that we will say when we think it's slipping up.
Yeah.
But I think people are too sort of like, Doctor Who's Untouchable, it's such a great show.
Yeah.
As fans, I don't think that you can treat the show like that.
No.
Because if you don't treat the show like that, it's not going to move on anywhere.
I mean, I see it week after week. 10 out of 10, that was amazing. 10 out of 10, that was amazing. No.
Yeah. Or even
stop.
Some people that don't give it scores.
Yeah.
Because generally people are going to go, that was rubbish.
Yeah.
But people who, post on social media and, put on YouTube, or, just generally say, that episode was exciting and it was dark and it was, but using really non-descriptive words because they don't want to kick the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what does that mean? I could say, my last shit was exciting and dark. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean it was good or enjoyable to sit through. That was a great analogy.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah?
What a picture.
My last turd was exciting and dark. That means nothing. Because if I'm not enjoying it, you know what I mean? Like, that's what Doctor Who's like. It's what, if there's some reason why I'm sitting there and I'm going, this is really uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
And it's giving me a bad feeling. If there's some reason, and I'm sat there palpitating, going, this is just wrong,
Yeah.
If there's some reason that I'm sat there, I'm going to say why.
Yeah.
You know, because you know that's not subjective. if I can honestly, with my hand on my heart, sit down there and watch an episode of Doctor Who. I'm not talking about turds anymore.
Yeah.
If I can sit down and watch an episode of Doctor Who and go, that doesn't work because.
Yeah.
And I give, you know, a reasoning for it. That's, you know, a fair excuse and a fair answer. If I just say Doctor Who was exciting, you know.
Oh, I just can't get the. I can't look at you.
Alright, fine. Well, do you not want me to sit down when I say it? Shall I squat like this? And that's worse, actually. Yeah.
Stand up.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's description and then there's analysis.
Yeah.
Right. Some people will just.
I just won't look at you. I'll just nod.
Okay.
I'll just pretend that I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a split screen? So we'll add you in later, right? There is description and there is analysis. Right? Description.
I'm now laughing. Just at the fact of laughing. Jesus. There's analysis and description, yeah.
There's analysis and description. Analysis is why something was the way it was.
It's not even funny.
It's not.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sitting on this because it's making fart noises as well. Description
Yes.
is describing what something was. Exciting and dark.
Yeah.
Right? Analysis is why was it like that? Right?
Yeah.
Critiquing it is could it have been better in any way? And that's what we do.
Yeah.
But we analyse it and we look at it and we go, you know, is that fair enough to say? Is that fair to say?
You know,
Can I sit back on my toilet?
You can sit back on your toilet now. Yeah, I just think people take it just face value. I mean, the prime example is me with that Hellbent. Is it Hellbent?
Hellbent.
Yeah, you know, I just watched it and I was like, oh, you know, it's classic Doctor Who noises, classic TARDIS, and we're on Gallifrey. Hey, and then obviously when we sat down and I rewatched it and then we talked about it properly and unpicked it.
If you'd not seen that episode and you just gone off the trailers, you'd have gone, oh my god, this is the best story ever.
Yeah.
But you know, actually, you have to actually watch it and you have to look at it and go, oh, wait a minute.
None of what we want to happen happens. Yeah.
Presentation. And that's a lot of different things because I didn't want to just say social media because Doctor Who and social media, I don't think are particularly entwined with each other throughout the history of the show.
No.
But I think it's really important still, especially now. Presentation. So that means, can we please, for what reason are the titles out of sync week on week on week on week, and then randomly in sync again? It's really, really bizarre, but it's really. I mean, I notice it.
Yeah.
I wonder if you know, average people do sort of notice.
I've never noticed it.
Have you never noticed that they're out of sync?
I've never noticed it. No, not with the new. I see people a week after week. They turn around and are like, titles were terribly out of sync again. Like, really? Maybe it's just the music comes on and I just sort of switch off for that bit because it's just like.
Because you don't like the theme music? Or?
Well, no, it's not that. I just think it's like, oh, it's the theme tune. With this is my.
Once you see it, you cannot unsee it.
Really?
I'm going to try and show it to you
The only
now.
time I've noticed it is again when someone pointed it out with like the David Tennant one, and like the noise of the camera moving around the TARDIS. I think this was you. You might be pointing this out to me, but it's not in sync at times.
Which one was that? Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've got that noise.
Out of sync title sequences.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So the point is, right.
This one is right.
So the one on the bottom is right.
Yeah.
When it comes out this thing and it goes dun 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 dun, that cog is supposed to light up. That means it's in sync.
Right.
Right. So you see that's lit up now because it's in sync. Now watch Series 9 Episode 10, right? See, it started way too early.
Yeah.
These ones have barely started as well.
Why is that?
Look how mad it
Yeah,
is.
so, when it goes into the clock, that's when you get the da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum-dum-dum.
They're all completely...
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to be the da-da-da-da.
Yeah, it's
that
when you get
da is when the logo appears. Oh no, wait, it's changed this one. But they all appear, it's like... And that one's Face the Raven's already...
Yeah.
ended. That one's... Yeah.
Right, okay. That's interesting.
So they're all a little bit...
They're all a bit
wrong.
place. Now I'm gonna be honest. That doesn't really get my goat that much.
All right.
And I think this is probably a classic Doctor Who thing. You know, sometimes like the way like the fonts would appear to be like.
But to me, that I noticed that, and to me, it's just like. Yeah. I think how are you like? It's the BBC. How are you getting stuff like that wrong?
I think in this day and age,
yeah,
that shouldn't be happening because it's different in the 70s.
Like I know, but like it's different sizes. Like, surely you've got templates where you're like, okay, just type in the episode title and the episode name. Yeah. Because like you can have one for like writer credit and writer credit. By writer credit and by Stephen Moffat and Catherine Tregenna or whatever, and then like okay, so you've got that one, but you only ever need one that's usually like one line. So just by Stephen Moffat. Yeah,
it's very odd, and I just don't understand. I don't understand why you'd have it on the timeline, and you'd have the video, the footage of the title sequence. You'd have the music. You'd have it in sync. I don't know at what point when they're editing the video they'd go, right, let's move the music from the video.
Maybe because they have a fade now. You've never had a fade into the title sequence before.
Does it fade now?
Sometimes it fades from the episode into the title sequence.
Oh, so it doesn't just go...
It doesn't just...
like pan and then go... Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. Like, in Deep Breath, when it pans up away from the 12th Doctor Man before, that fades, and other ones since then have faded as well. But it's a bit of a nitpick, but it also goes... The point carries on to Doctor Who's like social media, which I think they write it for children.
The social media,
the Twitter and the Facebook and all that sort of stuff. Specifically the Twitter, because I see the Twitter more often than the Facebook posts. I think it is written for children because, but what kids are on Twitter?
Yeah, for God's sake. This is the thing. This is a part of like who's your audience.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a fundamental issue.
I think I might have some images to show you now on screen, to the wonder of editing, of some images taken at some Doctor Who press event, and the photographs are obviously taken on some intern's like, ancient like Nokia or something, and it's like, this is a professional television program. Because I look after the social media of a band, and it's like I take great pride in the way it's presented and the way it comes across. Like them, they don't usually write the posts. I write them on their behalf, and it sounds like it's coming from them. And but I know them because I know what they sound like, and I know how to respect the audience that I'm trying to convey information to. But it's like, this is a broadcaster, and they've got a brand manager. How is their brand manager not looking at the social media and the stuff like, I think it is 2 or 3 posts a day. Look at Maisie Cam. Watch Maisie Cam. Maisie Williams was in this TV. It was in the show. It was annoying before she was even in the show. And it's like she's gone now. You should be giving us information about the new series.
Yeah.
Not
Who cares? She ain't coming back.
Yeah.
I hope she's not coming back.
Probably is.
No.
She probably is.
She's never coming back.
You want to put that down now, and then when we come to do a review of the episode which she comes back in, I can play this in at the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I don't think she's ever coming back. Ever. Unless she's a down and out actress and she's just like, get me some work, and I'll come in as the cleaner in the background.
I think she's coming back.
I don't think so, because how would you do it with a? She went off with Clara and that'd be it. Or she gonna turn up and be like, yeah, so Clara died.
Yeah. Or like, she's over there. I've just run over to say hi or whatever.
She's in the diner.
It could be an Ishilda from earlier in the timeline.
Oh no, please, no.
But again, I think the style of presentation goes along with the risk-taking thing. Is like, just change it up a bit, because it gets boring, it gets stale, and it has been boring and it has been stale for quite a long time. Yeah. And I think there was some sort of like push of resurrection in the show at the beginning of Series 8, where it was like, oh, this does actually look, I don't know what it is, but there's something about it that's different. And comparing the End of the World to Into the Dalek. God, so different.
Yeah.
Even not even in the way that the stock of the film cameras they're using or whatever. It's just so different. And there is I think there has been a real push to make it look more cinematic. But making it look cinematic doesn't just mean we've got a cinema deal. Yeah. I think there's some sort of thing in their mind where they go, it's going to be in the cinema, so just whack some more HD on it. You know, that's cinema, right? It's HD. Yeah, cinema's HD. Yeah. You know, there's got to be some of that banded around the office. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, right, okay. So, what have we got?
Weirdly enough,
Go on.
talking about this, a guy at work, one of the Yorkcast presenters, turned around
Are you going to say who it was?
No, I won't say who it was. Just in case they say, wait, this editor said that you were... I don't know whether...
He's got a Brazilian accent. Let's roll it down.
No, he hasn't got a Brazilian accent. But he turned around to me because he said, this was at the Halloween party where I was just as Doctor Who. I was just a topic. As the Doctor, not Doctor Who, because I know people will go, oi. And he sort of said, oh, is that your thing, is it, Doctor Who? And I was like, yeah. And he said, oh, I never got it. He said, I know that it's been, like, running for forever, and, you know, there's just, like, I just feel like trying to get into that now just seems like such a daunting task. He said, but, he said, I did go and see the 50th anniversary thing at the cinema with a friend or with whoever. He said, and I really enjoyed it. He said, and if it was more like that, he said, if it was just like, you know, they did like a little film every so often, he said, I'd go and watch them. He said, but I wouldn't watch it on, he said, I just don't fancy watching it on telly. Okay. I was like, that's interesting.
Alright.
So that opened my eyes to like an entirely different sector of the audience, who aren't fans, who aren't even an audience, but were like, I watched the film version, and I really enjoyed it. And I was like, I thought, how would you enjoy that?
God.
Without any context of what Doctor Who is. Like, you've got 3 doctors, one of which isn't really a proper doctor, but for the purposes of this episode, he's now a doctor.
Well, I suppose on the face of it, people know what the Doctor is, and they know what the Daleks are, and you know, the Time War is sort of explained from the ground up in that show.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting.
But it's an interesting side of things that I hadn't thought about. I hadn't thought that there was going to be people who were just like, oh, I'd watch it at the cinema.
Yeah.
But not on telly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair play. Interesting. Okay then, isn't that our video done?
Yeah.
How to fix Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Done.
Your toilet analogy.
I really need to go now, actually. not in that. I do need. It's soda water that's done it for me.
Oh, I see.
It's not solids. Even though we did have a roast dinner, so
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. That's the lottery of. Hello, goodbye, welcome to the show. Let's wrap this up now.
Right, so thank you for watching. I don't know what we'll be doing next.
No, I have not. Well, we've been putting it off for long enough. We probably have to do Peladons versus Pyramids.
Yeah, we need to do that next time.
Yeah.
Obviously, this sort of came together in a bit of a rush hodgepodge, like, oh, quick. But yeah, we'll try and get that done at some point.
Yeah.
Whenever we're both around.
And maybe some more games. Or,
we'll try and do some more of that. Yeah. That'd be good. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, please don't take it too personally. And
Steven.
No, you can. You take it personally. Take these ideas on board.
Fix it,
yeah. So thanks for watching, and we shall see you all again next time. Bye!
I was searching for an old WWE pay-per-view the other day. It's called Barely Legal.
Oh, Jesus
and
Christ.
I typed that into Google.
Oh, dear.
Not a very good idea.
Yeah,
Shit.
Alright.
That's drum stalls for you. You can see my search history. Doctor Who, Paradise Towers music.
Cleaner's theme.
Yeah. Because I filmed. I feel really bad. Well, no, I don't feel. No, it wasn't actually. Do you remember when I said to you, I can't look at people on mobility scooters in the same way because when I see them trundle past, like
you think of the cleaner.
I was at Temple Meads and we were.
You film someone and then.
No, it was somebody on a cleaning machine, but I did film them, and I was trying to. I was going to sync
up
that
music.
up and put it, but I couldn't find the music. I don't know where it is.